One of the things that the chapter for me embarked on was to encourage coaches to begin to think about that writing is a skill. It ain't a talent. A lot of it's bum on seat. A lot of it is about managing your confidence, you're managing your process. And so this year for me has been the first time that this chapter has truly encouraged those people who are already writers to begin to see that as a channel of communication, both for themselves, for the visibility of coaching, to reach people. And those who think, I could never write, to go, well, how about you give it a go? And maybe you could do it again in a habitat, in the company of people who feel confident that writing is a good way to raise your voice as an alternative to being a presenter, a public speaker, doing radio broadcasts, So for me, that's been very exciting because I'm aware that there are a lot of coaches who feel very lonely. It's lonely work. And yet there's something about being involved with raising your voice in a written format and then beginning to see people engage, whether it's through LinkedIn posting or whether it's by having an article published, as many of our chapter coaches have done this year. That for me has been really great because, again, it's like expanded. And I think coaching is about expanding opportunities, not just creating more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. And I would really like that to be something of the future of the chapter, is where there is a place for everyone. Whatever their talent is, whatever their interest is, there is a place for you.
It's actually quite interesting that you bring that up because, there is, what I notice is that there is a very corporate feel with ICF. And clearly someone like me is not corporate. And you go, well, I don't know if this is the right place. Is this right? I don't know. And what I've noticed from being a member of ICF and this chapter is there is place. So on that note, I would like to know from you, what do you wish more people knew about the South African chapter of ICF?
When you become active as a member, you'll soon be challenged to become much more respectful of other people's passions and interests, and to not try and be so convergent, as in it needs to be like this because otherwise I don't want to be part of it. So I do think that that's one of the challenges that this chapter brings. It doesn't have this hierarchical elevation of these are the real coaches, and then there are these other interesting but rather sort of peripheral people doing some weird stuff. I think the chapter is really has developed enormously in the last year, particularly into an idea of a more lateral sort of space or environment where there are people who have borders that intersect with one another and then particular areas in which they are strong. But I suppose I heard myself say the word respect. And I think that's what I'd really like people to know is that whatever you bring as a member, even if people kind of go, you do what? That the next move will be, tell me more about that. Gosh, I've never come across that. Rather than, well, what kind of a coaching is that? Well, that's not really real. So that would be my real hope, is that people would begin to be bolder about coming forward, about the very edgy, interesting, novel pieces of work that they're doing, and feel that people would take an interest in hearing more about what are you doing? Where do you do that? How does that work? What are the benefits that people get? How does that add to the people of our nation being supported, getting served, and being able to be in a path of growth when there is so much narrowing that is being encouraged? One of the projects that the chapter has made available, and I think it will continue, is for people to get together and be part of, in this case, trios, where they are with someone from Nigeria, with someone from Philippines, with someone from South Africa, and where they explore together how they coach one another in a bold space, which is to go, oh, when you did that, that was really weird for me. Like, I found that very odd, or the fact that you addressed me by my first name was really quite startling, or I loved the way that you introduced yourself to me, etc. As to really explore all those more nuanced communication and interactional spaces. So I think that's one of the things that really for me has been extremely exciting, is taking something that's an incredibly hot and for many people painful topic, the diversity, inclusion, movements, etc., and thinking we can help one another by connecting with other chapters, who are living in spaces in our world where people do speak differently to one another, where people do have lived experiences, but even in our own country. And it's connected to, I think, to the change with this embodies a coaching mindset, that it actually became a how do you be a coach, not how do you do technicist coaching. I ask these questions and I say this. And I think that's been a huge development, which I think has refreshed some of the more experienced coaches who had been becoming a bit tired, perhaps, of what they did, and and finding new markets. So I think it's really brought an invigoration. It's challenging, but I think it's brought a real invigoration to people to ask themselves, how do we be with one another in the global space in a very simple but very human kind of way?